Warriors. Right now, someone watching this hasn't slept through the night in weeks. Not insomnia. Something worse. The kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting battles in complete silence. You know the ones. The collapse nobody saw. The betrayal you can't explain without sounding broken. The mornings when putting on the mask for the world takes more energy than the entire day that follows. Specific symptoms: you're present but not there. Conversations happen around you, not with you. You're gripping the wheel of your life, but the engine's been dead for months. Rock bottom? You've been living in the basement below it. Invisible struggle. That's the technical term. The real term? Excavation. Life doesn't prepare you for the fire. It throws you into molten heat unannounced to see if you'll disintegrate or become steel. And right now, you're in the forge whether you chose it or not. The hardest challenges don't announce themselves. It's the silence that screams. The isolation that teaches. The betrayal that strips you of every illusion you were clinging to. You're not falling apart. You're being taken apart. Deconstructed. There's a difference. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man breathing, wrote these words while his empire bled out around him. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Not a philosophy. A survival protocol. Pain has a purpose. Your collapse is not random. This moment, this precise crucible you're standing in, is forging something most men will never become. Comfort creates soft targets. Easy roads build forgettable men. But the fire you're in? That's where legends are smelted from broken iron. The world taught you to run from pain. To medicate it. To perform happiness while quietly drowning. This is the philosophy of the weak, men who mistake numbness for peace and distraction for victory. The mob celebrates noise. Loud success. Public victories. Performance metrics. But you've been crying in empty rooms. Building discipline nobody applauds. Fighting wars with no witnesses. Society calls that depression. Failure. Irrelevance. The Stoics called it the forge. And that silence you're suffocating in? It's not punishment. It's the first lesson. Before we go deeper, mark your coordinates. The algorithm wants you isolated. Scrolling alone in the dark. Believing you're the only one still refusing to medicate reality with dopamine trash. You're not. We're scattered across every time zone. New York. Berlin. Denver. Seoul. Melbourne. Different coordinates. Same frequency. Drop your city below. Not for belonging, for reconnaissance. When you see Sao Paulo, Manchester, and Taipei appearing in the comments, you'll understand something the distracted masses never will. We're not a community. We're an insurgency. Nodes in a network the noise hasn't corrupted yet. Outposts of clarity in an empire of distraction. The mob doesn't know we're organizing. Good. That's tactical advantage. Mark your position. Let's see how deep this network runs. 170 AD. The Danube River. Germanic frontier. The most powerful man in human history sits in a frozen tent surrounded by corpses. Not metaphorical ones. Actual bodies stacked in frozen mud outside his command post. Marcus Aurelius. Philosopher. Emperor. Stoic. The Antonine Plague has killed 8 million Romans. His 7 children lie in tombs back in Rome. His most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, declared himself emperor and split the empire into civil war. His legions? Decimated by fever, not combat. The frontier collapses. A messenger arrived an hour ago. Trembling. Another legion dead. Bodies like cordwood in the snow. Every rational calculation says quit. Abdicate. Retreat. Let another man inherit this nightmare. The voice of surrender doesn't whisper. It screams logic. It offers relief. It promises the warmth of giving up. And Marcus, 60 years old, grieving, watching everything he built disintegrate, hears something else. The distant coughs of dying soldiers. The scrape of shovels breaking frozen earth. The rhythmic hammering of blacksmiths forging weapons for a war without end. Then silence within. He reaches for his pen. Not to write propaganda. Not to inspire his troops. To write instructions to himself. The Latin scratches across rough paper. What stands in the way becomes the way. His children are dead. He continues. His general betrayed him. He continues. The plague devours his legions. He continues. Not because hope promises victory. Because continuing is the only response worthy of a rational soul. He stands. Walks into the frozen night. Moves among the wounded. Clasps hands turning cold. Speaks quiet words into darkness. 13 more winters. He spends 13 more winters on that frontier. Never sees Rome in peace again. Never stops. His private journal survived 2 millennia. We call it Meditations. The words he never intended another soul to read became the survival manual for every man who's ever stood in the fire and refused to burn. Every modern performance guru is selling you diluted versions of what Marcus practiced in total darkness. Ryan Holiday wrote The Obstacle is the Way. Sold millions. But he learned it from a dead emperor's private thoughts. Jordan Peterson tells you to pick up your suffering and bear it. Correct. But Peterson learned it from Jung. Jung from Nietzsche. Nietzsche from the Stoics. And the Stoics? They learned it from men like Marcus, men who chose discipline over comfort in the coldest moments of their lives. This isn't theory. This is the field manual written in real time by a man watching his world collapse. You want the source code? You're hearing it. Everything else is commentary. The question isn't whether suffering has meaning. The question is whether you're strong enough to extract it. Marcus proved it's possible. But proof and practice are separated by one thing: your willingness to continue when every fiber of your being screams to quit. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because you built your fortress on rented land. Listen closely. You gave the world permission to define you. The relationship validated you, then it left. The income proved you, then it vanished. The status protected you, then it evaporated. And when the externals collapsed, you collapsed with them. The Stoics had a term for this, the inner citadel. The fortress of the mind that no external force can breach. The unshakable core that remains standing when everything around you burns. You never built one. You outsourced your peace to people who were never coming back. You handed the keys to your emotional kingdom to strangers. You built your identity on things the universe could take in a single afternoon. And it did. Carl Jung said it perfectly, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Your suffering isn't random. It's not punishment. It's not evidence that you're cursed or broken or fundamentally flawed. It's a forced awakening. The universe is burning down every false foundation until you build on bedrock. Every illusion, every comfortable lie, every external validation you were clinging to like a drowning man grips driftwood. Gone. And you're standing in the ashes wondering why you feel so empty. Because you were never the structure. You were always the ground beneath it. But you forgot. Society taught you to perform, to build an impressive exterior, to accumulate symbols of worth, titles, possessions, relationships, followers, metrics. Nobody taught you to build internal architecture. So when the performance ended, there was nothing left. Right now, you're at the fork. And what you do in the next 5 minutes will determine the next 5 years. Path 1, the descent, you numb it. Medicate the pain. Scroll it into silence. Chase dopamine hits that leave you emptier than before. You become the man who had potential. The ghost of could have been. That guy people remember and wonder what happened to. Your quiet strength, the thing that could have made you dangerous, rots into quiet desperation. Your isolation hardens from temporary solitude into permanent bitterness. You're 50. Standing in front of a mirror. A stranger stares back. Entire life spent running from the fire that was specifically designed to forge you into something unbreakable. You didn't avoid the pain. You just made it meaningless. Path 2, the ascension, you metabolize this. Every betrayal becomes discernment. Every failure becomes foundation. Every moment of invisible struggle becomes the origin story you tell your son when he faces his own crucible. The silent war you're fighting right now, that becomes your authority, your credibility, the reason people listen when you speak. Not because you avoided suffering, because you alchemized it into wisdom. Think about the exact moment that broke you. The specific betrayal, the precise loss, the collapse that put you on the floor. Feel it right now. The weight in your chest, the tightness in your throat, the shame, the rage, the confusion. That weight is either crushing you into dust or compressing you into diamond. Same pressure, different outcome. The variable is what you do in the next 8 minutes. Because Marcus Aurelius left you a protocol. 8 laws. Forged in the coldest darkness human power has ever faced. Not theory. Not philosophy for academics to debate in comfortable rooms. Survival instructions from a man who had every reason to quit and chose to continue anyway. But here's what you need to understand: the algorithm doesn't reward wisdom. It rewards distraction. Right now, this second, it's serving millions of people exactly what they want: comfortable lies, performative empathy, dopamine-optimized garbage designed to keep them scrolling until they're too numb to feel their own lives falling apart. And this? Actual philosophy. Forged in actual fire. Built for men in actual darkness? It drowns. Unless you make a decision. If these words cut through the noise, if you felt the weight of them, then you're standing at a tactical juncture. You can let this disappear back into the algorithm's landfill, or you can treat engagement like warfare. Every like is a signal flare. Every share is an act of resistance. You're not supporting content. You're telling the machine, prioritize this. Not the garbage. This. The enemy is the feed. The mindless scroll. The engineered distraction that keeps men weak, medicated, unmanageable. If you want philosophy that doesn't negotiate with comfort to survive, you have to arm it. Mark this. Share this. Amplify the signal. Not for me. For the man about to close this tab and return to scrolling, maybe he needs to see it twice. Inaction is surrender. Silence is complicity. Don't let wisdom drown while garbage goes viral. Marcus Aurelius never stopped. 13 winters. Frozen frontier. Empire crumbling. He kept going. Not because he felt like it. Because stopping was beneath him. His private journal survived 2 millennia. We call it meditations. Inside 8 laws. Not motivational quotes. Survival protocols for men in total darkness. This is the architecture of an unbreakable mind. The alchemy that transmutes rock bottom into bedrock. Collapse into foundation. Victim into author. 8 laws. Each one a blade. Each one designed to cut away weakness and reveal the steel underneath. The education is purchased. Your suffering already paid tuition. The question, will you attend? First law. Law 1. Silence is your forge. The world celebrates noise. Loud success. Public victories. Followers. Metrics. Announcements. You're told that if your struggle isn't visible, it doesn't count. That suffering in silence means you're isolated. Alone. Forgotten. Wrong. Silence isn't isolation. It's incubation. The strongest transformations happen in complete darkness. Seeds germinate underground. Steel is forged in closed furnaces. Butterflies dissolve into formless liquid inside sealed cocoons before emerging with wings. Nobody watches the process. Everyone sees the result. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations in a tent. Alone. Never intended to publish it. Those private thoughts in complete silence became the most influential philosophical text in human history. Your invisible struggle? That's not weakness. That's the monastery. The laboratory. The forge. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The friction happens in private. The polish shows in public. Stop performing your pain for an audience. Stop announcing your journey. Stop seeking validation for the work. The silence you're suffocating in is actually your competitive advantage. While others broadcast their intentions and leak their energy through constant updates, you're building in the dark. When you emerge, they won't recognize you. Law 2. Pain is the map, not the trap. Society taught you pain is the enemy. Something to avoid. Medicate. Eliminate. Run from. This is a fatal misunderstanding. Pain is data. Physical pain tells you where the injury is. Emotional pain tells you where the growth is. Think about it, you don't feel pain in areas that are already strong. You feel it where you're vulnerable, underdeveloped, fragile. Your pain is a diagnostic tool pointing directly at the next level of your evolution. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz by treating his suffering as information, not punishment. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The pain you're feeling right now is showing you exactly what needs to change. Betrayal? You trusted without discernment. Pain shows you where to build boundaries. Failure? You built on a weak foundation. Pain shows you where to reinforce structure. Loss? You attached your identity to something temporary. Pain shows you what's permanent. Stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Start asking, "What is this teaching me?" The moment you shift from victim to student, pain transforms from torture into tuition. Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." Your pain isn't blocking your path. It is the path. Follow it. Law 3. Let the old you collapse. You're terrified of falling apart. You're holding yourself together with discipline, routine, willpower, trying to maintain the version of yourself that used to work. Stop. That version is supposed to die. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by trying harder to be a better caterpillar. It dissolves completely. Formless liquid inside the cocoon. Total structural collapse. Then reconstruction. You're in the cocoon right now. And you're fighting the dissolution instead of surrendering to it. The person you were before this crucible? They're not coming back. That identity is obsolete. The skills that got you here won't get you there. Let them go. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your reaction to collapse determines whether you rebuild stronger or stay broken. Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you. But only if you stop trying to hold the broken pieces together." Marcus lost 7 children. His empire. His health. His trusted allies. He didn't try to restore the past. He built something new from the ruins. The old you is dying. Good. That death is making room for the king you're becoming. Stop mourning the corpse. Start building the monument. Law 4. The quiet strength outlasts loud success. The marketplace celebrates noise. The algorithm rewards performance. Spectacle. Drama. Volume. You're watching people broadcast their wins, their grind, their relentless hustle. And you're sitting in silence wondering if your hidden discipline even counts. It counts more. The ocean doesn't announce its depth. The storm makes noise, but the ocean beneath remains unmoved. Quiet strength is the ocean. Loud success is the storm. Storms pass. The ocean remains. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man alive. He could have broadcast every victory, every decision, every philosophical insight. Instead, he wrote in private, spoke only when necessary, led through presence, not performance. Lao Tzu wrote, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." Real power doesn't need an audience. Real discipline doesn't need applause. Real strength doesn't require witnesses. You're building something the crowd will never understand until it's already built. The entrepreneur grinding in silence while others sell courses on how to grind. The athlete training at 5 a.m. while others post motivational quotes at noon. The man rebuilding his mind in isolation while others perform healing for followers. Your quiet strength is compounding in the dark. When you emerge, the noise won't matter anymore. You'll be the standard they measure themselves against. Stay silent. Stay building. Let the work speak when it's finished. Law 5. Become the person your suffering is building. You focused on ending the pain. Wrong target. The pain is temporary. The person it's forging is permanent. Michelangelo didn't see a block of marble. He saw David trapped inside it. His job wasn't to create. It was to remove everything that wasn't David. Your suffering is the chisel. Everything being removed, the false confidence, the comfortable lies, the superficial relationships, the borrowed beliefs, that's not you. That's the marble. What remains after everything breaks away? That's you. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your suffering is removing your dependence on outside events. Stripping away the external validators. Forcing you to find the power that was always internal. The person your suffering is building doesn't need the relationship to feel whole. Doesn't need the income to feel worthy. Doesn't need the status to feel powerful. That person is unshakable. Stop trying to end the storm. Start becoming the kind of man who doesn't bend in wind. The suffering you're enduring right now is an investment. The returns don't show up until after the market crashes and you're the only one still standing. Steve Jobs said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards." 5 years from now, you'll look back at this moment and realize this is when you became dangerous. Not despite the pain. Because of it. Law 6. The bottom is your foundation. You think you're at rock bottom. You're wrong. You're at bedrock. Rock bottom implies you fell. Bedrock means you excavated. There's a difference. Falling is passive. Excavating is active. You didn't collapse here by accident. Life dragged you down through every false layer until you hit something that won't break. That's bedrock. That's where you build. The tallest structures in the world aren't built on surface soil. They're anchored in bedrock. The deeper the foundation, the higher the structure can rise. Marcus Aurelius hit bedrock on the Danube. Lost everything. And from that foundation, built a philosophical legacy that outlasted the empire itself. The Japanese have a concept, kintsugi. The art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The cracks aren't hidden. They're highlighted. The brokenness becomes the most valuable part. Your rock bottom is the golden seam. The moment you broke completely is the moment you became unrepeatable, original, authentic. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." The bottom isn't where you failed. It's where you planted the flag for the empire you're about to build. Stop trying to climb back to where you were. That elevation was superficial. Build from bedrock. What you construct now will be unshakable. Law 7. Every betrayal is preparation. The betrayal still burns. The friend who disappeared. The partner who left. The mentor who used you. The ally who became the enemy. You're stuck in the story, replaying it, analyzing what you missed, wondering how you didn't see it coming. Stop. Betrayal isn't the wound. It's the vaccine. Think about it. A vaccine introduces a controlled version of the disease to build immunity. Betrayal introduces you to the specific form of deception you were vulnerable to. Now you're immune. Marcus Aurelius's most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, declared himself emperor. Complete betrayal. Marcus could have spent years in rage and revenge. Instead, he wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." The betrayal you suffered wasn't random. It was diagnostic. It showed you exactly where your discernment was weak, where your boundaries were porous, where your trust was naive. That's not failure. That's information. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction options. Path 1. Stay bitter. Replay the betrayal. Let it poison every future relationship. Build walls so high nobody gets in. Die alone and angry. Path 2. Extract the lesson. Build discernment. Upgrade your selection criteria. Become the kind of man who doesn't get fooled twice. Every betrayal is preparation for leadership. You can't lead if you can't detect snakes. You can't build an empire if you can't identify who belongs in your inner circle. The betrayal you survived just made you unemployable for deception. That's not a scar. That's a superpower. Law 8. Keep going. That's the whole secret. You're waiting for the moment it gets easier. For motivation to return. For clarity to arrive. For the pain to subside before you take the next step. That moment isn't coming. Marcus Aurelius spent 13 winters on the Danube frontier. 13. It didn't get easier. The plague didn't stop. The frontier didn't stabilize. His children didn't come back to life. He just kept going. Not because he found meaning. Not because hope appeared. Not because circumstances improved. Because continuing was the only response worthy of a rational soul. This is the law nobody wants to hear. There's no hack. No shortcut. No secret technique that makes the fire comfortable. The secret is, you keep going. When it's hard. When it's dark. When every logical reason says quit. When your body screams stop. When your mind offers 1,000 justifications for retreat. You keep going. Muhammad Ali didn't win because he never got tired. He won because he kept fighting after everyone else would have quit. The ammunition runs out. The strategy fails. The body breaks. But the will? That's the only infinite resource. Marcus wrote, "You can endure anything your mind can make endurable by treating it as in your interest to do so." Your interest isn't comfort. Your interest is becoming the man who endured the unendurable and kept moving. That man is legendary. That man is unbreakable. That man builds empires from ash. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for readiness. Stop waiting for the right moment. There is no right moment. There's only the next step. And the one after that. And the one after that. Keep going. That's the whole secret. That's the entire formula. That's what separates the men history remembers from the men history forgets. Marcus is remembered 2,000 years later not because he had an easy life. Because he had an impossible life and continued anyway. 8 laws. Forged in the coldest darkness. Tested by the most powerful man in the ancient world. Not theory. Protocol. Now you have the map. The question is whether you'll follow it. One final thing before we continue. We're approaching 1,000. Not subscribers. The first cohort. Every fortress needs a foundation. The original legion that holds the line before the empire is built. The core group that understood the mission before it was safe. Before it was popular. Before it was proven. You've been here for 16 minutes. Still watching. Still listening. Still refusing the easier path of closing this tab and returning to the scroll. That tells me something. You're not here for entertainment. You're here for the protocol. If that's true, if you recognize these aren't just words but weapons, then make it official. Subscribe. Not for content. For the commitment. The first cohort isn't about numbers. It's about the density of minds willing to metabolize fire into fuel. The quality of men who choose discipline when distraction is one click away. When we cross 1,000, the foundation locks. Unshakable. After that, we build the citadel. But we need bedrock first. The originals. The ones who found this in the darkness and recognized instruction, not inspiration. If you're still here, you're already one of us. Make it official. Join the ranks. 2 roads. 1 decision. Everything changes from here. The Stoics' path, hard. Quiet. Unrewarded. You take these 8 laws into the darkness and apply them with no audience. No applause. No validation. Just you, the work, and the commitment to forge yourself in silence. This path builds kings nobody recognizes until they're already crowned. Lonely. Unglamorous. Lethal. You become the man who endured what breaks other men. The one who turned invisible struggle into unshakable authority. The one who metabolized betrayal into discernment and collapse into foundation. 5 years from now, people won't recognize you. 10 years from now, they'll study how you did it. The coward's path, you close this video. Brief inspiration. 0 application. Return to the comfort of your complaints. Keep waiting for circumstances to change instead of becoming unchangeable. Medicate the pain. Scroll it into silence. Perform recovery while staying broken. You'll still suffer, but your suffering will mean nothing. No growth. No strength. No legacy. Just wasted pain. Your suffering already happened. The bill is paid. The only question, what did you purchase with it? Marcus Aurelius had every excuse, every justification, every rational reason to quit. He didn't. Not because he avoided suffering. Because he understood something most men never learn: life isn't defined by what happens to you. It's defined by what you do next. The emperor who lost everything became the emperor we remember 2,000 years later. Not despite the fire. Because of it. That's the formula. Keep going. Not when it's easy. Not when you feel like it. When your world is frozen and dark, especially then. Because continuing is the only response worthy of a conscious soul. Now, which of these 8 laws is your war? Drop the number in the comments. No essays. No philosophizing. Just the number of the law that cut deepest. 1 through 8. Which one is the blade currently carving you into something dangerous? And if these words found you at the exact moment you needed them, if this felt written specifically for your silent battle, send it to one person fighting their own war. Don't let them fight alone. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book V. The obstacle is the way. That's not inspiration. That's instruction. Act accordingly.